they say data's the new oil, right? We've been saying that for a while. Well, if data's the new oil, AI is the combustion engine. And so we are trying to build the combustion engine around all this data foundation that's starting to get piped in as well. So I think, this is just the beginning of starting to unlock a lot of that value and driving this type of, this type of ecosystem for these customers.
I'm going to take a moment to tee up episode 2 in our story featuring ICA champion partner OnLogic and how they're pairing AI and automation to transform the car wash of the future. We're going to talk about Car Wash Copilot, a cutting-edge digital maintenance solution developed through a powerful collaboration between Reliable Plus and Concept Reply. OnLogic's industrial hardware powers this system and offers predictive maintenance capabilities designed specifically for car wash operators. What makes Car Wash Copilot unique is the fact that it's equipment agnostic, meaning it can work in any type of car wash regardless of manufacturer. So with that, I'll turn the conversation over to David from OnLogic. David, take it away.
Hey guys, it's Dave Meffe from OnLogic here, and we're going to talk a little bit about some car wash solutions together. Maybe before we get in, I'd like to do some introductions. Luke, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Luke Bame. I'm a senior director at Ascentek, which is the parent company of our car wash division called Reliable Plus, and we're located in the upper Midwest.
Hey, David, thanks for having us. My name is Remus Pop. I'm a partner at Reply. Specifically, I run a division called Concept Reply, where we focus on the world of connected vehicle, connected product, and connected factory. Car wash kind of fits in the middle of all three of those, so it's pretty exciting.
That's really cool. I love bringing together partners and seeing what kind of solutions we can bring to market together. And maybe along those lines, Luke, could you talk a little bit about how this solution came to exist?
Yeah, absolutely. So we install car washes, we sell car wash chemicals, but most importantly, we service, those car washes that we install and even ones that we don't install. And, on average, 20% of our repair work that we do is planned maintenance, preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance, even at times with certain things that we measure when you think about fluids and telemetry units. But 80% of the time it's retroactive. So a door won't shut in a car wash, a blower motor goes out, and the car wash is shut down for our customer base, and which is thousands, tens of thousands of customers that we have now over a 6-7 state area. And on average, depending on how many cars go through, their car wash, that could be $1,500 to $1,800 per day of lost revenue profits. And so every day that they're down, that we can't get out there with our service techs that are in the field, is lost revenue. So really, it came about that with that problem. It was, how do we solve that? How do we become far more predictive on when that blower motor is going to go down, when that door is going to stick? How do we notice those before our customer gives us you guys need to get out here right away call, and that emergency call? When you think about our broader business, we average anywhere from 75 to 100 calls per day. We've got 50 plus service techs in the field that are running around performing these preventative maintenance calls or these emergency calls. And so we just wanted to use technology, and that's where we ran into Concept Reply and said, do you guys have a solution for this? Do you guys know how to aggregate data? Can we put sensors and hardware and get everything to connect? And that's already over my skis and where he picks up. We just had the problem, and we knew that if we could get more efficient, that's something that's scalable and also something people would pay for and want and need. So
that's really interesting, Luke, because you kind of hit on two different things there and two really different vectors. One was the deployment of this solution helps your customers make more money because it improves their uptime, right? If they can't run their car washes, they can't get paid. And then from your perspective, this ability to do predictive maintenance really allows you to do better scheduling in terms of not having to go out with those emergency calls. So I would assume there's a pretty significant cost reduction for you to deliver a higher level of service to your customers.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And they're willing to do more business with you if you have a higher service level overall, especially when it comes to those, that technician field. Because sometimes it's electrical, sometimes it's pipe work that our team is doing, sometimes it's parts and motors and things like that, or bearings. Sometimes it's something very minor that can take down a whole car wash, and nothing's more annoying. It's really applicable to everybody that you talk to, because we all drive cars, and we get around, and you're that seventh car that you've already paid for that car wash in line, and it breaks. Not a good experience, right? So fielding those calls isn't fun. So how do we mitigate those? And that's where it started from.
That's awesome. I mean, that creates some really solid business context around what we're trying to solve for here. Maybe Remus, how do you bring this solution to life, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, this was our first foray into car washes, right? I mean, we don't typically work in that space, but in chatting with Luke and getting through trying to understand his problem, it's not too dissimilar from what we see inside of a typical factory setting, right? So, it's a conveyor, it's a blower motor, it's a an environment that's run by a PLC or controls automation. So the similarities are pretty common across the two. And so on the factory setting, we do that quite a bit, right? We help our customers kind of put these sort of predictive maintenance tools in place and help them understand, exactly what Luke was trying to solve is how do we get to a point where we can predict when a machine is going to fail so that we don't have unexpected downtime, right? Just like a car wash would lose revenue if they went down unexpectedly, it's the same in a factory setting. And so, working with Luke and understanding the environment, right? Obviously, there's some unique ones there. Obviously, like Luke said, it's cold, it's wet. How do we develop a solution that's going to be able to accommodate that different environment? And then we actually went and checked out a couple of different car washes. So we spent some time going through different ones. They have different styles, different vintages, right? Just like a factory, we still run into equipment from the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and all the way up to last year. So trying to understand that, as well as if we're going to build a platform and build an architecture that's going to be able to accommodate not just one, but all the different varieties of car washes. I think one of the unique things about Reliable Plus is they support and maintain and service so many different types of car washes. So the solution that we had to build had to be capable enough that it would accommodate all of that and be easily deployed, easily maintained, easily managed, easily configurable, so that Luke and his team could then just take it and run with it.
When we first got together as kind of a team, what was it that you were looking for from some of the OnLogic hardware? And why did you choose to use OnLogic hardware in this particular deployment?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the reason that we use OnLogic is kind of the same idea. In the factory, it's proven to been reliable for us from an architecture perspective. We want to do a lot of things to help our customer, not only from a configurability and maintenance perspective, but also from a cost perspective. So when we look at architecting a solution like this, you could put sensors into a car wash and stream all that data to the cloud right away. But we all know that that's not the most efficient way to do things. So we always like to put a gateway in the middle of that so that we can aggregate, collect, do some visualization even locally if we need to, give the ability to remote into a car wash site. So if we needed to do some quick maintenance on any of the application, we could, but then also just to help us mitigate the cost of moving data to the cloud. So, having that buffer zone that we could install these sensors, feed that data locally to an application that we could, do some local things with, and then move it to the cloud. And like I said, in the range of variety of offering that OnLogic has sets us up for what we want to do today. And then as we look at future facing technology, right, AI, ML, as we want to move into some, potentially different things in the future, the partnership there goes across all levels of that. So, having a partner like OnLogic we can rely on, and the support from the team there has been great. They shipped us a trial unit to get going in our office before we were able to get on site. So we were able to do a lot of testing ahead of time. So it's just been excellent.
No, I appreciate those kind words. It is interesting when just hearing you talk about being able to apply the lessons learned from one industry vertical. You've mentioned manufacturing several times. That's kind of where OnLogic's bread and butter is. We kind of grew up there, and we see the exact same trend that you do, like the harsh environments, the need for highly configurable systems to go into these different verticals with really similar applications, right? Whether it's preventative maintenance in a car wash or a factory, or it is preventative maintenance on the side of a dump truck. All these different types of applications are very similar, and your solutions, as well as the OnLogic, kind of really baseline capabilities enable all these different use cases across all these different industries. And like, I love seeing our things come together, especially in the context of the car washes, and we're solving problems for Luke. It's just a really cool way of seeing kind of these end customer values manifest through the combination of hardware and software solutions.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about what Industry 4.0 is, right? Like Industry 4.0 is the buzz that's happening in manufacturing. It's been going on for a little while now. My definition of Industry 4.0 is it exists to connect assets within a factory to deliver information to people that can act upon it the fastest. So taking that mindset, it's the exact same mindset to the car wash space. It's connection of assets in a car wash to deliver information to people that can act upon it the fastest, whether that's a maintenance tech or whether that's the car wash owner or whether that's Reliable Plus to service. It's the same idea. It's the same concept. It's just we're in that new age of being able to be what we sort of call the Internet of Everything, right? So yeah, it's fun to see the parallel.
Yeah, I love seeing it. Where do we see the value creation for all of our mutual customers? And maybe Remus and Luke, if you want to mind, kind of really think about it from the voice of the customer. Like, speak to like what is the value of this solution, and kind of like why does it matter? And how should we really think about the tangible ways that this creates value?
At the end of the day, if I can go to a customer, any one of our thousands of customers, and say, I can guarantee that you're going to get 95% more uptime if I'm able to add hardware and sensors to aggregate data and really keep a pulse on anything from temperature to decibel to how loud things are, or to bearings and how they're operating, and if they're getting the right lubrication that they might need to that particular asset. If I can aggregate all that and then make sense of that data through the use of AI in the cloud, and take that and go, okay, we know with 97% certainty if these two things exist, this piece of equipment will fail within 30 days. So that's super valuable and super powerful, and something that, for us and in this industry in particular, and Remus knows that there's not anybody who's really trying to do this in this industry. So this is a first for this industry. It's a value proposition for us. It's peace of mind for that owner. A lot of times, people in this space too are owners that own other businesses. So this is almost a secondary business for a lot of folks, not named one of the major players, right? So if they can have that type of peace of mind and maybe pay something for that type of a service, that's a win for them. They don't want to have to think about their asset failing.
Remus, do you have anything else to add on in terms of how you view customer value?
At the end of the day, the reason people start businesses is to try to make some money, and making money is a balance of cost versus revenue, right? So if we can help a customer reduce the cost of managing and maintaining a car wash, even if we don't increase the revenue, reducing the cost is going to drive more money into their pocket, right? And so as we look at these types of solutions, that is the mindset: is how do we get to a point of better efficiency for the customer, so that, like Luke said, they don't have to worry about it. It's just something that comes off the plate. They just know it's there, and maybe it goes the flip side. Maybe you have a way more active owner operator, and they want to start building around analytics and understanding additional things, and so they're now going to have this pool of data that they can pull from to start driving insight and analytics into other sectors of their business, or trying to understand, maybe they have 4 or 5 car washes across a metropolitan area, and they see that these 3 run twice as much as the other 2. Maybe they're going to start looking at investments into that area because that's where the majority of their car washes run. So we'll be able to give them the base level of data. If they say data is the new oil, right? We've been saying that for a while. Well, if data is the new oil, AI is the combustion engine, and so we are trying to build the combustion engine around all this data foundation that's starting to get piped in as well. So I think this is just the beginning of starting to unlock a lot of that value, and driving this type of this type of ecosystem for these customers. I think, and like Luke said too, is the difference that we saw when we were doing our market research was that there was some solutions, but they were owned by specific, car wash manufacturers. And what I think was really unique about what Luke and his team had the idea to do was to make this agnostic across a variety of different car washes. So it wasn't, stuck to, you have to buy the car wash from this company to get this type of tool. We could go to pretty much any car wash and deploy this solution. So I think the value is tremendous across that.
It sounds like you've democratized the car wash ecosystem.
Kind of.
And I'd like to add, Remus, I mean, think about another point too. When you start aggregating a lot more data and you start putting AI and things like that over the top of it, Think about a time when you go to the car wash now, and it tells you what your car needs based on maybe there's some hardware and sensors that can look at your car and go, okay, this person was clearly driving down a dirt road versus a paved road, and that's a different type of dirt ingress. And our company, our parent company, actually makes chemicals and lubricants, and a one size fits all is the approach a lot of people take and use, and that's not always the best case, as we know. So, if I know that, David, when you come through our car wash, that you need a certain type of soap, maybe normally it's at a 3% concentration ratio, but you went mudding over the weekend with your kids, and you might need 6% to undermine that dirt that's now caked on and hardened. Um, what if you had a dynamic car wash that could look at the car and change that on the fly in real time for you and say, hey, David, actually there's four selections here, but there's another one called this is for David's car, right? And so
Yeah.
that's where my brain goes when I think about the power of data that Remus's team can supply to our local technicians, and ultimately the type of chemicals that we're deploying inside of that car wash, right?
That's a really good point, right? Because it's like you're thinking about these services and capabilities that don't exist today, but
Yeah.
you're future proofing your ability for the inventions of the future for how you can apply science against this, even with an existing system that you've already deployed. I really like that. It's a really interesting way of looking at it, Luke.
Yeah, let's take away from like the cost revenue side. What about the liability side, right? I'm sure every owner operator of a car wash has said, "Hey, you guys dinged up my car." Well, now if we put cameras and AI at the front of that, we could detect all of those things and say, "No, we didn't. You right. Here's the evidence that you came through like that." And now, kind of showcase that as well. I think that's the once you have the infrastructure in place, and that's a lot of what Luke and I talked about early on, is when we partner with companies like Ascentek and like OnLogic, and we build an infrastructure, we're always future focused in what we do. We don't want to put something in that we're going to have to rip out a year later. And so when we look at these types of things, we just continually iterate on the technology, and it's important to have the framework in place that allows us to iterate on it. And that's I think where this partnership becomes really strong.
Well, guys, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about what our companies do, what our solutions do together, how we build value for each other, how we build value for end customers. I just want to say thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend with me and with one another. I'd also like to thank the audience who has politely dialed in to listen to us talk. And lastly, I wanted to thank ICA for having us. And for the audience out there, if you'd like to learn more about the technology or how that's impacting the car wash industry, you can absolutely go and visit carwashofthefuture.com. And with that, I'm going to like to say thank you once again and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.